Hi, my name is Alan Palange, Executive Director of the law firm. I wanted to talk to you today about the FICO score and exactly the 5 components that make up your FICO score. What's amazing is the FICO score, as you know, affects every American and also affects our economy and general commerce. As negative items that may be reported on an individual's credit report are possibly erroneous or don't belong there, it actually affects that individual's ability to go out and produce in the economy. What's amazing is the FICO score could be used even for employment or getting a job promotion. So it's unbelievable that something as important as a FICO score is truly not understood by most Americans. So I wanted to take a moment and break down the 5 components of the FICO score and what they mean. So the debt amounts that you're carrying represent about 30% of your overall FICO score, and that's huge. And let me give you an example. You may have a credit card with a $10,000 balance. The optimum amount of debt that you should ever owe on that card going from month to month, and what we call a carryover balance, should never exceed 30% of your overall credit limit. If it does, it starts depreciating your credit score tremendously, and the higher up you go as a percentage of what's owed to what the credit limit is, the more of an effect it has on your credit score. So keep in mind that if you have an open credit card or revolving debt and you have a credit limit of, in this case, $10,000, you should never carry any more than 30% or $3,000 as a carryover balance from month to month. This has a huge impact, and as I mentioned, does represent 30%. The length of your credit history represents about 15% of your credit score. So the older you are, the longer of a credit file you've established. So keep in mind that just the sheer length of what's on your credit file represents 15% of your credit score. Now, many people think that if they have debts that are in default on a credit file, that a quick way to improve their credit score would be to pay off that particular debt. Now, I'll be talking in a subsequent video about what we call the statute of limitations, and I highly recommend anybody that has outstanding debt or is in default, please make sure to watch that video. It will be an eye-opener at the very least. Your payment history represents 35% of your overall FICO score. So anytime you've been 30 days late, 60 days late, 90 days late, or you're in a perpetual default situation, keep in mind that from the date of the actual default, that item can be reported for up to 7 years on your credit file. Also remember, bankruptcies will stay for up to 10 years on your credit file. Now, there are many instances that I speak with people that have had items be reported on their credit report well in excess of 7 years. So as though we all know that the credit agency is required by statute to remove negative items within 7 years of the default, or at 7 years and a day of the default, that oftentimes doesn't happen. So keep in mind that the payment history does represent a good portion, 35% of your overall credit score, and that is a very, very important component to keep in mind. New credit represents 10%. So new credit many times is also represented by the amount of inquiries that you've done on your file. And this is something that is also a misconception. People think that inquiries don't really affect their overall credit score, and they do. And the higher the volume of inquiries, potentially the more of a risk you become for somebody that would like to extend credit. Nobody really knows in the immediate short term, meaning 30 or 60 days, how many of those inquiries turned into loans that you've established. So we ask people to be very careful and diligent about not making too many inquiries. You should only have an inquiry that's pulled at the time that you truly are looking to take out a loan. It shouldn't be used as a shopping mechanism. And keep in mind Inquiries will affect your credit score for up to 12 months, but do remain on your credit report for up to 24 months or 2 years. Now, there are other factors that affect your credit score, and that they make up about 10% of your credit score. Those other factors could be things like multiple addresses on your credit file. It could be a number of aliases on your credit file. What you need to think about is the FICO Fair Isaac credit score was initially established to help creditors understand those individuals that present a larger risk. When one is issuing credit to another, they're concerned about two things: one's ability to pay back the loan, and more importantly, or as importantly, their motivation. Now, motivation is spoken to based on your credit file history, which is why that's a large component, your payment history of your credit score. But also keep in mind that the more credit you have been utilizing, or the more inquiries you've been making, or the higher your credit card balances are to their actual credit limit, will reflect in the part of the algorithm that looks at your ability to pay back a loan. So I hope this has been helpful. There are, as I mentioned, 5 components to a FICO score. If there's any additional questions you have, please reach out to one of our paralegals or a consultant that may be assisting you. Again, my name is Alan Plange, Executive Director of the law firm. Thank you.